G'day YouTube, this is Reese and this is my follow-up review of the Bauma Ag SX82 chainsaw as I reviewed about 8 months ago. Now that I've used the saw a lot more since I bought it, I think I've got a bit more understanding and a bit more comprehensive review of the pros and cons of the saw. Firstly with the pros, the saw itself, I've cut a heap of wood with it and big hardwood. Red gum, grey box, and especially with grey box, that stuff's as hard as a cat's head, but it handles it okay. A bit slower to cut than the red gum, but other than that, it hooks right into it. The saw itself, I couldn't be any happier with overall in its performance. Plenty of power, good saw. Some of the cons I've found with it, firstly, I did mention this 8 months ago in my review on the chain tensioning system. In practical sense, it really is a letdown. I found trying to tension the chain adequately, what I would have to do, instead of turning that screw which should tension the chain, this little pinion gear there, it just, under too much tension that it can handle, it won't turn the thread, the screw there, so it just clicks, it turns it without turning the thread. I have to undo those two nuts, lift it partly, turn the screw so it actually moves the adjustment pin for the bar, and then just, not too far, but tap it down so it pushes the bar forward, locates in place, and then I can lock it down. So it's a little bit time consuming, and it doesn't work as it should. I believe this to be an issue across the board. I'm not the only person that's spoken of this. I have had a look in behind that plate, and just at the front of it I can see there's where would normally be a hole that comes through for an old school style adjustment. I'm actually going to drill that out. The end of that screw sits in a plastic bush. I'm going to see if there's enough meat in the end of the screw to just cut a slot in there so I can just run it back to a traditional style adjustment. The other issue that I've had with this saw is just recently with the pull start. One morning I went to cut up some firewood, one pull of the cord and it stayed out. I couldn't do anything, tapped the side of the cover, so it didn't retract. When I pulled it all apart, I noticed there was a whole heap of sawdust and just crud in there, and I thought that might have been hampering it, so I just blew it out with some compressed air and gave it a good clean out. It kind of fixed it, but it still happened, not quite as frequently. So I see on the Edison's website they have replacement covers. Whilst they're not that expensive, I thought I didn't want to buy another cover. I want to try and fix this one where I can. In there is a spool that sits on a recoil spring to return, and pull it off. If you find yourself in this situation, removing that cover, just be careful. It will come out and just spring out everywhere. So I noticed when I took it out that the end of that recoil spring sits within a recess. It locates within a recess to keep it in place, and I think it wasn't sitting in there. So looking at the situation, trying to work out how I would sort that out, I realised if I untied the knot at the handle that keeps it onto the ripcord, I could then free turn that spool, and turning it not quite one full turn, I heard an audible click which suggested to me that the end of that recoil spring clicked within the recess that it was supposed to sit in. When I put the handle back on and fired her up, yep, that's exactly what was wrong with it. It seems to pop out of that little recess every now and again. It's happening more frequently now, so I can either replace the cover or replace the spring, but at this stage it's not annoying me too much, but it's still a problem that I've found with it. The other issue I've had with the saw is that one exhaust port. It blows hot and it burns wood. If you cut too close and you're not keeping an eye on it, not only do you just burn a mark on there, it will start to smoulder on the actual log that you're cutting, especially big stuff like that's sitting on. Now in these wet months it's not so bad. I would never dream to use that during summer months. Not that you should be, but yeah, that saw I would not, no way, no how would I cut with that in the summer. I don't know if they're considering an updated muffler for these things, if it's a consideration by Edison's. But yeah, it ain't that good. When I first did the review, I didn't think very much of it, but now I've used it more practically. Yeah, I don't really much like that at all. That's pretty much it on the negatives of the chainsaw. Overall, like I said, yeah, I'm very happy with it. Cut's awesome. The chain that it ships with, the 20 on that 24-inch bar, the plastic packaging, when you look at it, I actually thought it was like a Carlton or a Oregon chain, because it's really well written English, really well printed, and it's not in Chinglish. It's structured in its language correctly. It reads pretty good. I bought 2 more from Edison's. They had a special going, and having a look at those chains, yeah, there is King Jar or something like that. So they are a Chinese chain, but for a Chinese chain on these Bauma Ags, they're actually alright. It sharpens up every time I've sharpened it up, and after 7 months, give it a sharpen, that goes alright. So buying an extra 2, I can rotate the chains out in the paddock when I'm doing a lot of cutting. There is another thing I'd probably like to discuss. When you buy these power tools off Edison's, to Edison's credit, they do include a very basic safety kit in amongst the tools that come with it, which look like that. Now, when you get these things, this is really good, because it should put in your brain, wear goggles, wear hearing protection, wear other forms of protection when you're doing this sort of stuff, because if you're an absent-minded person, well, firstly, you shouldn't really be doing this absent-mindedly, and secondly, if you've got no clue as to what you're doing with this, you can really do yourself a bad thing. So that these are included is good. However, the quality of these things, no. Better than nothing, yes, but get the good stuff. Get a good set of eye protection, protect your hearing. The flip-up masks that you can get for chainsawing, chaps, other protective gear, yeah, definitely get the upgraded stuff. This is a consideration, but yeah, definitely get the good stuff. I mean, I'm not the boss of you. You can do whatever you like, but I would suggest that if you value your eyes, fingers, arms, legs, do what you can to protect that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about that, and thanks for watching me review. Hopefully not so many ums and ahs as my first one. This one's actually completely unscripted, whereas my first one, I will admit, I did half script it to try not to stumble over my words. Still successfully did that, but anyways, you guys can judge as you will, but thanks for watching. See ya.